Hello and welcome to Shaking and Sipping, a show about cocktails and other drinks where we will be shaking, or occasionally building in a totally different manner, but listing them all would be too long for a title, various drinks, and then sipping them. If you've seen the first video in the channel, you'll know the project we're working on right now is weekly trekking through each of the cocktails on the IBA's official list. So depending on what that cocktail is each week, we may do variations of our own or bring in variations from other folks. However, week one, starting alphabetically in the classics category, is the Alexander, which is a drink that they list a number of variants of right there in the IBA, as well as kind of mention a variant that we'll make as well. So we're not going to have to do much additional investigation or brainstorming on this one. We can just go ahead and mix them up and drink them. So first, a couple notes. What is the Alexander? So according to the IBA, was invented in 1922 by Harry Macalone, whose name they misspell, which is fun. This is certainly not true. So what is it? It's cognac, creme de cacao, and cream, according to the IBA list. And this is certainly a common drink called the Alexander. They mention in the text on the IBA site, which I'll throw up, that it was originally made with gin, but they credit it to Harry of Harry's New York bar fame. This just isn't right. So we know that the drink with gin goes back to at least 1916, which is where Paul Clark cites it to a book from 1916 in his Great Imbibe article of like 25 classic cocktails of last century. So that is the original gin one. Now this gets mentioned on the Wikipedia page for the drink, but says it's a totally different drink, which, I mean, it is a totally different drink, though the other ingredients are the same. But clearly the IBA is conflating these two, but crediting it all to the wrong person whose name they can't spell. So that's weird. So we'll definitely make both of those versions, both the IBA official version, which we'll make first, and then we'll also make what's clearly the older version of a drink with the same name and the same proportions, just with a different base spirit. One other aside on odd people's perspectives on things, there's a separate Wikipedia article for the Alexander and the Brandy Alexander. They give the exact same recipe, just different bits of history. And there's all sorts of fun conversation on the talk pages for why they should or shouldn't be merged and how they're different drinks. And they're clearly not. Clearly, Brandy Alexander is an Alexander made with brandy, which cognac is. So it's an Alexander. So I don't know what that's about. Anyway, let's go ahead and mix up the first one, the classic, the IBA Alexander. For this, we're going to need cognac. I've got Pierre Ferrand 1840. We're going to need dark creme de cacao, which I don't normally keep in the bar, and this is what they had at the liquor store, Mr. Stack's. Not really sure the quality of that, but it's going to work out okay. And we're going to need cream. So let's go ahead and start putting that together. All right, so we're going to grab our shaker. And we're going to need, obviously the IBA builds everything in terms of milliliters. For a long time they used centiliters, which is fun, but now they use milliliters. I'm just going to use ounces because that's what I'm measuring in, roughly equivalent in this case, because this drink is equal parts 3 centiliters or 30 milliliters each of the ingredients, and those are almost exactly ounces. So we're going to do a 1 ounce portion of the creme de cacao. We're going to do a 1 ounce portion of the cognac. And we're going to do 1 ounce of the heavy cream. And cream's one of those things with slightly different names, different places. This might be called heavy cream or whipping cream, double cream, depending on where you are, but it's something that is, the cream from the milk. And then let's grab some ice. There we go. Got a big water can and a couple of regular looking ice cubes, and then we are going to go ahead and just shake that until it's ready. And then we are going to go ahead and strain that into a coupe, which ideally would be a chilled coupe, but that's not great when I'm doing the video. And I wish I had a smaller coupe because the water line was terrible, but we shall live. And with how many of these drinks I'm making, I certainly don't need to be building these drinks any bigger. And then we're going to just garnish with some freshly grated nutmeg on top, as all good things should have. And this is the IBA version of the Alexander. Let's give it a try. Wow, because of all that cream, you really don't smell the alcohol, so I just smell nutmeg, which I'm not sad about. Let's try that again. So I think there's too much cream. I want less cream. The creme de cacao and the cognac go together great. It tastes like, not that this is a thing, but it tastes like chocolate cognac. Like it doesn't taste like a separate element, like you poured chocolate on it. It tastes like the cognac. I'm getting, some of those barrel notes and some of the, aged spirit notes, but they just happen to have chocolate involved in them as well, which I'm not upset about, but there's just too much cream. Which I'm going to be saying after four more of these, I'm sure, but you need maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I'd cut the cream back. The nutmeg's awesome. That pairs with the chocolate and cognac really well. Lovely drink. Not a great drink for the time of the afternoon that I'm drinking these, but I could absolutely see having one of those after supper or something like that. Maybe just hairless cream. But it's good. All right, gave the shaker a quick rinse, and we're ready to go for variant number 1. So variant number 1 in the IPA, we're not gonna make today, because that is the Grasshopper, which oddly is itself one of the IBA official cocktails. So they listed on both the page for the Alexander and it has its own page. So we will get to that in a future week when we get around the letter G. But in our case, we're actually going to go ahead and move on to the Alexandra, which is incredibly similar to what we just made. I think it's going to look different, and the garnish is different, which actually will make a difference because I liked the nutmeg quite a bit in there. But let's go ahead and try the Alexandra. Very similar, except we are going to not be using our Mr. Stack's creme de cacao, and instead we're going to be going for a white creme de cacao. So is it that different? No, but it does look different. So, okay. So we're going to take again 1 ounce, that's 3 centiliters or 30 milliliters of white or light creme de cacao. We are going to take another ounce of our cognac. I'm just sticking with the Pierre Fermont 1840. I don't think in this drink you're going to taste the subtleties of different cognacs. If you have a preferred, go for it, but this is what I would generally use for cognacs where I'm going to be mixing, and I think it works fine. So that's what I would use, which is why I used it. Then we're going to have finally our 1 ounce. I'm going to stop saying the centiliters and milliliters after each pour, since it's all exactly the same, of the heavy cream. And so we're going to grab some ice. And we're going to process about the same. A little bit of shaking. might wonder if this might be a place where you want to try to dry shake the cream first to try to aerate it more, so that you don't want to shake the drink forever because you're going to increase dilution. But maybe if you dry shook the cream for a while or the whole drink for a while before the ice, could you get better texture, proper consistency? Probably. IBA doesn't call for it, and neither did any of the other major sources I looked at. So we're not doing that, but that would make sense if that's what you were thinking. And in this one, we are going to garnish with a little bit of cocoa powder. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm not sure how I feel about this. We'll have to check it out. My guess is that this isn't gonna punch as hard as the nutmeg did, but I don't know. So here is this one. If we compare these side by side, I mean, this one is darker, but I don't know that it's worth having a separate variant for that, but you know, maybe. And also for all these, we will, I'll build these again and have some nice close-up photos of these, which will go on the blog, which will be linked in the description, which we'll talk about more. But let's give this one, the Alexandra, a try. There is absolutely nothing in that nose. It smells of cream. Interesting. The creme de cacao is definitely different than the Mr. Stacks was. It's a little subtler. The Mr. Stacks, even though I said it integrated really well with the cognac, it was very much chocolate in the, you know, like chocolate syrup. Like it was very chocolate. This, I taste chocolate. I know it's chocolate, but it's a little more subtle. It's more, grassy would be a terrible description. But somehow it's more vegetal than it is ice cream sundae. As expected, the cocoa powder on top, I get nothing out of that. The nutmeg should still be here. I don't know why we got rid of the nutmeg. That's a mistake. Otherwise, really good. Great. Very tasty. Like it. Will drink again. Cool, so that's the Alexandra, and now we're going to move on to the next one. I'm just going to need to go rinse the shaker again and get some more glasses.
All right, shaker is rinsed. I rinsed the glasses as well. I was going to grab some of my martini glasses, but they are just too big. We're barely getting to a decent level on the coupe, so I rinsed those out as well. Moving on to Alexander's sister, the cleverly named spin-off of the Alexander. This one, we go back to the first Alexander, except we switch, well, really, it's the first and a half, because it is a clear spirit instead of the dark. But we're going back to the first garnish, and we are swapping creme de cacao for light or white creme de menthe. So, let's do that, and by now these proportions should be fairly familiar to you. So we're going to start off with our 30 milliliters of creme de cacao. And I noticed when I went to rinse these that one of my mics might not have been on. So if the audio, which is probably already not very good, was really bad for the first half of that, I sincerely apologize. But I don't promise it won't happen again. All right, 1 ounce of the cognac and 1 ounce of the heavy cream. Great. Let's grab some ice. Sweet. And the process is exactly the same as the last couple. And again, would it be nice to do something with that cream and dry shake it or whip it up or something and get some more creaminess? Yeah, that'd be a good idea. We're not going to do that. We are going to go ahead and strain this into a coupe, which again, ideally would be chilled, but it's not. And then we're going to go back to garnishing with the nutmeg, which seems a weird choice. It really didn't say anything about a garnish on the IBA page. So all it said was sub the creme de menthe. So we're doing that, and we're bringing the nutmeg back. This one, incredibly white in color. Somehow even whiter in color than the creme de cacao one was, it seems to me. This could really just be a coupe of milk. My favorite beverage, the coupe of milk. Again, all I'm getting is nutmeg. Nothing else is getting through that cream. Oh. Okay, that's lovely. I get that we're kind of already going in the grasshopper direction with that. Since we're bringing the mint to the party, that's very good. Is it super nuanced? My first answer is no, because when I first sip it, I just get mint. As it's sitting there, though, no, the cognac actually is present in just a really good way, in just a really warm little bit of, spices, baking spices, maybe even be a little bit of vanilla or some other note like that out of the wood that's just in the background underneath this really nice mint. And the mint it's thinner or higher or pokier than the cacao. So actually, I'm not as angry about the amount of cream here. I'm getting less of a cream explosion because the mint is cutting through in a way that the cacao wasn't. Does the nutmeg add anything? It adds nose, so that is the only thing I'm smelling is the nutmeg, and I do smell it right as I sip, and I'm not upset about it. Do I taste it? I don't think so, but would it be different if I didn't smell the nutmeg as I'm drinking it? Maybe. Let's see if I can not breathe while I sip. Yeah, it does make a difference. It's worth being there. And I think the nutmeg, rather than like the cocoa or something else, adds a unique note to it. I'm very pleased with that. Cool. All right, let's do a shaker rinse. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We are on to the third variant we're going to make today, so the fourth drink. This is a weird one. So this is apparently called the Alejandro. I am not convinced this drink exists. So I searched it a little bit. I can't find anyone making a drink called an Alejandro, and I didn't search it that much, but I didn't see immediately anyone making a drink called the Alejandro, which was an Alexander substituting rum for the base spirit. There was something on Kahlua's website that was just like an Alexander with Kahlua in it, which, cool. But I'm not sure that this cocktail exists, but it's in the IBA's list, so we're gonna make it. The thing that annoyed me, especially since the IBA is, the Bartenders Association, it just says rum. That is an unhelpful designator. I don't know if we're trying to find a really aged barrel-y smooth rum to sort of just directly sub for the cognac as much as possible. Are we looking for the cognac of rums? Or are we trying to go totally the opposite direction and have something incredibly light and crisp, like a Bacardi or something to just give it the ever so slight bit of some sort of spirit quality? So, or are we looking for something with funk on it? Are we going Jamaican? I have no idea. It just says rum. It doesn't even give you the, not that light and dark are useful, but it'd be something. So since I have no idea, we're gonna go with something fun, for me at least. RL Seal. This is a Barbados Rum, it's aged for 10 years. Somewhat funky. It's not crazy funky. It's funk adjacent. It's a good rum, good price. I support it. That's what we're gonna do. Haven't tried this. We'll find out how it goes. All right. Why am I grabbing the cognac? The only thing I don't need in this drink. So we go back to the original recipe. So we need this brown creme de cacao. And we have, again, 1 ounce of it, thereabouts. That was actually probably more like the 30 milliliters I need, because 30 milliliters is slightly over an ounce. It's like 1 2/100ths of an ounce, and that's roughly what that was. And then we're gonna get 1 ounce of RL Seal, which I appear to be almost out of, and I'm very sad about that. That was also more like a 30 milliliter pour. Maybe I should just call it a 30 milliliter pour. And then we're gonna go for 1 ounce of the cream. That was like a 29 milliliter pour right there. All right, and then we're gonna get some ice. And as usual, same steps, everything into a shaker, shake it. Wow, that was really sealed. Okay, and we're gonna strain into our hopefully chilled coupe that's not chilled. Yeah, you can see my pours were a little generous there. The one's a little better than the other drinks, actually. And we are going to return to the nutmeg garnish because it did not tell me to do otherwise. I've been very pleased with the nutmeg so far. All right. The Alejandro. Again, a lot of nutmeg on the nose. Not a lot of spirit. That does not behave at all like I would have expected. The rum's gone. The cream somehow tastes more like cream. Somehow the rum has just the rum has somehow made the cream just taste creamier. And so I have a little bit of cocoa and really creamy cream, like melted ice cream. Tasty. Be really easy to have a bad night and have 14 of these because there's no alcohol flavor. Or a good night, depends on your night. Yeah, that's incredibly strange. Somehow rum tastes like vanilla ice cream. No idea what happened there. It's good. If you don't want to taste the spirit or anything else. Let me know, folks, in the comments or on the blog or whatever. Is this a drink that you've ever had or heard of or seen in another bar manual other than the IBA site? And if so, what rum do you use? Because I'm very curious what this is supposed to taste like. Because I'm guessing it's not this. I'm guessing we're not trying to make melted ice cream. But I'm not upset about it. All right, one more rinse and we'll be back for the final drink. All right, shaker is rinsed and we are ready for drink number 5, variation number 4, which is in fact drink number 1 because this is the original. So again, this is from a 1916 book initially by Insulin. I don't have that book. It's hard to find that book. I looked for a library that had an original copy and it was multiple states away from me. But the great Paul Clark quoted the recipe in an Imbibe article years ago of the 25 best drinks of the century or something. I'm using that, which appears to be the same recipe that the Wikipedia article references, and is probably what the IBA is trying to reference, even though they still seem to be crediting it to Harry, whose name they can't spell. But either way, we're going to make it, and it calls for gin instead of cognac, or rum, I guess, because that's a thing now. So we are going to go ahead and, I don't know why I have the glass out, we're not pouring into that. We are going to go ahead and make this with gin. Now, it does not specify in the recipe that I have whether we want light or dark creme de cacao. I don't think it's going to matter. I'm going to go for the dark only because that way we get some color. Because the gin is going to give us even less color than the cognac otherwise. I don't think the goal for this drink is to make it look identical to cream necessarily. And yes, I did just put that out of order with the gin before the creme de cacao, but we're all going to let it. So I'm going to go with the dark just to give it something going on in its life. So that's our 1 ounce each of the gin and the creme, and then 1 ounce of the cream. It's a weird sentence. And we're gonna grab some ice. And as with every other variant, preparation instructions, all ingredients in a shaker. Shake them. Alright, and we are going to strain into a preferably chilled coupe, which is not. And this one, interestingly, does not call for any garnish. So we are not going to give it any, which I think makes sense to some extent. I don't think nutmeg and gin are my favorite combination, though maybe. Let's see. Oh, and I did not mention we're using Ford's gin. I have not made this before, so I'm not sure if this would be my favorite gin to use in here. I like it in mixed drinks, typically. It's got a variety of flavors without being incredibly strong in any direction. So I'm hoping that's going to work here. Oh. That's nothing like any of the other variants. As different as I thought the rum one was from the other cognac ones, this is so much different than any of those. The botanicals are right there. The juniper, but also a little bit of citrus. Still no nose whatsoever. The cream just entirely... I mean, you can tell there's something there, but it's not appreciable. Yeah, you get a juniper hit, and then there's just in the back of your tongue, into your throat, the other botanicals. You get a little bit of citrus, and you get I don't know what that is. It's something bitter. What else in here? Juniper, florals, and spices. Angelica maybe. It's not the coriander. It's not jasmine. Kasha. I didn't know there's cassia in here. I don't get that. What you don't get is the cocoa. I'm sure it's doing something because I tasted it in all the other drinks where we used it. It's fairly strong. It's giving color. Yeah, I'm convinced it's doing something. I don't think that I would like just gin and milk. So I think the cocoa is doing something in there. But not a cocoa thing. It's more just a dark... Yeah, you know what? That's what it is. It is there. You can taste it. You just don't notice it if you're not looking for it, because all it's doing is it's creating the baseline of the palate. So The cream is not here. I mean, it's still very creamy. There's way too much cream. But the cream is not the flavor in this version. The cream is just the mouthfeel and the texture. The cocoa is what's actually setting the stage and giving us just this dark, I don't even know, I don't have a good descriptor. A woolly cave. It's giving us a woolly cave. Just this dark, soft, warm undercurrent that then the gin is building on top of. Primarily with the juniper. I like that. I will make that again. Very different drink from all the others. All right, well that was 5 different versions of the Alexander. A drink that you should try. You should not make 5 of them in the middle of the afternoon, but you should absolutely have one some other time. Or have one of them mid-afternoon. Thanks so much for watching. This was the first drinks video on the channel, so I'm sure we've got some work to do in terms of the cameras, the audio, the editing, everything else. We will continue to work on that as we go and get better. There will also be, as I mentioned, linked in the description below, the blog, which will probably come up a day after this video, because I don't know that I want to make all these again for photos tonight. So that might actually be too much cream, or cognac. But that'll be up soon, and we'll be posting each of the episodes on there, as well as other stuff as it comes up. We'll be doing one of these every week until we get through all 90 of the IBA official cocktails. We'll do some other one-off stuff now and again. And all on the blog and possibly on the Twitter, which will be linked in the description as well. I will be later this week going to a bar here in Seattle and ordering an Alexander at a really good cocktail bar to see what they give me if I give them no specification. And it will be a good bar. I'm not going to go to Applebee's and order one, but go to a cocktail bar, just say Alexander, see what they give me. We will see how that goes, and we'll try to do that each week as well to see how much the IBA recipes, what's used in various local cocktail bars and things. So, I believe I am done rambling. Please do the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, comment, share, stare at your screen more, and stuff. And I'll be back next week with the next cocktail on the IBA list. What is it? I'm not going to tell you. You could look it up, but then the suspense. Don't know how you'd live with yourself. Have a great week. Cheers.